Hello, my name is Christopher Dare, and you are here on Finding Your South. I'll tell you, it is exciting to be with you. I appreciate all the different people who have been listening, and we are here at Lighthouse Coffee. We are thankful to them for letting us use their place as our backdrop. And if you're looking for a good cup of coffee, I'll tell you what, cheers. They make a great cup of coffee, and come enjoy it. They always have peppermint that I love. Now, with that said, we have been talking about conflict resolution. On this particular podcast, we'll talk about all kinds of things. We're just in the middle of a series on conflict resolution. It seems like conflict is one of the key conversations happening. And if you don't believe me, turn on the news, because you see things happening all the time. And I talk to people all the time who just shake their heads like, why do we have to be like this? But then they turn around and go act like that. And so I want to tell you there's reality that we need to change our behavior and not respond or act like what we see. We need to put some other principles in there. And so my challenge to people is, how are you handling conflict? What is conflict? Is it good? Is it bad? Are you walking into the middle of a conversation with already lit dynamite, and that's why it's bad? And so we have a lot of different conversations on that. Some of these things you're going to want to go back and listen to the different podcasts before. And we have a few things happen in the future that are exciting. But in our last podcast, I promised you that we'll talk about the idea of who is leading you. And now with that said, the reason that's important is because we're talking about walking through conflict. And sometimes it's really difficult for us to look at that diamond moment. And to remind you what a diamond moment is, it's the idea that I'm looking at one section of this diamond and you're looking at another, but I can't see what you see. And I can't, neither of us can agree and be congruent on what we see. But who's leading you sometimes? Sometimes you can even make it to where you're not even honest about what you're seeing, because you're worried about what everybody else thinks. Or you're worried about what other people are doing, or how other people are acting, and so you change how you act. Now, who is leading you? Here's the key. Say you and I walk in a room, whether I'm your boss, you're my boss or not, whatever, you really don't have the right to determine how I'm going to respond. Now, I say that because you're your own person, but so many times people let other people determine how they're going to act. They have conflict in their life, and something comes, and all of a sudden it blows up, and you determine that somebody else gets to decide how you're going to respond, how you're going to act. Now, and I want you to think about this for a second. Is sometimes it's not even people you know. I mean, I watch right now, people are angry driving. People are angry getting a cup of coffee. They're just they're loaded, ready to let something go. And I don't understand it fully. But that's not the kind of conflict that's actually sometimes able to get through because someone walks in the room with a powdered keg. So conflict, just to remind you, my belief is that it's neither good nor bad, it's neutral. And if it's neutral, that means it depends what you do with it. It depends what you bring to it. It depends how you process. Now, I also want to remind you something we talked about in the past in the other podcasts, is that we can have resolution not because we have to agree, but because we have a path forward. So we can disagree, we can look at each other's view, we can still not even see each other's perspective, and still honor each other enough to walk forward and have a path to work together. But in the bottom line, depending who's leading you becomes really important. So if you're in a conflict and with that person, let's say that you're the boss, congratulations, you just got a raise. You come in the room and I'm here and I work for you, and I decide to say whatever to you. Now you could, how you're going to respond to me, how you're going to react to me is up to you. But if you let me and my behavior change your behavior, all of a sudden I'm your leader now. And it's interesting. I watch people do this all the time. As an elected official, and I've shared that for 8 years. I was an elected official for the city of Sparks. I watch how even those who are supposed to be elected officials and leaders would allow someone coming in the room saying something to change how they're going to treat them or how they're going to speak. And so we need to be careful not to give away how we're going to act to somebody else's behavior. I am my own person, and you don't get to determine that. One example, I remember years ago, I was walking into a room at a local school that I worked at, and this parent was very upset, and it was in front of the kids, and so I wanted him to get away from the kids. So we walked, and he yelled at me throughout the school, and I just said, oh, it's okay, bud, come on, we'll talk about it. We walked all the way to my office where we had quite the time together, and it sounds crazy, but today that person's my friend. Now you might say, there's no way. I mean, he was calling me some names, but he is still my friend. And the reason why is that I just listened. And with that said, he didn't get to control me. Now, if I responded to him like he was responding or he was acting towards me, we would have had a different conversation. But because we got to walk together and we had the same goal, even if he was acting in a different way, we really could go together. The other thing that people let really kind of create how you're going to respond to something and kind of lead you is the situation. Sometimes you've had past situations that have happened in your life or different things you've heard about, and because that's what's happening, again, it seems like that's what's happening, then you just respond how you think you should. You just kind of react instead of thinking about it and stopping and taking a moment. So I challenge you to make sure that each moment is new. Realize that maybe someone in the past of your life hurt you, but this new person is not that person. It might feel like it might sound like it, and maybe you even have that PTSD type situation going on, but they're not the same people. And so stop and listen for a moment and respond with who you are. And then the other one's emotion. I tell you, I love emotions. They are important, they are crucial, and I've learned to really appreciate them because they're nerve endings to our soul. They tell you something's wrong. When the hair on your neck goes up and you feel a little scared, God put that there for a reason because you should pay attention to it. However, they don't control you. And I know that sounds crazy because it seems like they control most people these days. I mean, have you ever seen somebody, you just watch them. Like somebody said something on Facebook and then they say it back and they go back and forth, or they're texting or even they're raising their voices and they just kind of go back and forth with each other, letting emotion rule the day. But when it's all over and you look back, there's a lot of damage that was so unnecessary, but they let their emotions guide them. And I'll tell you, emotions are crucial. I'm not putting them down, but they are not the ones that guide you. They're not how you make decisions. They're not what leads you. So what does lead you? And that's something that you got to really wrestle with. I'm going to give you some principles to think about, but I hope that you take a moment today on your way to work or whatever's going on and say, what am I letting lead me through this day? Am I letting somebody's quick word they said that maybe hurt my feelings get in the way? Am I letting, an expectation I had of somebody? Am I letting someone who cut me off on my way to work get in the way? Or am I letting my principles guide me? So my principles, obviously, we've talked about this, reflect a lot of Bible, a lot of who I am in Christ. But there's principles all over the place that you can put in place that you can say, this is what's going to guide me. This will be my filter of how I'm going to respond to somebody. And it's important you catch that. There'll be other future podcasts that we talk about how we handle ourselves, how a leader functions. But I want you to know, when it comes to conflict, if you're not careful, somebody will just throw a small bomb over and they create the war that you were hoping not to have. See, when you walk in and you're the leader, especially of a situation, you want to be the one that even when they throw bombs, you don't even really know they're there. You're there for a different reason. You're not there to fight with them. You're there to get them on your team. You're there to understand them and walk them forward. And I believe 100% that's possible if you can slow down, remember who you are, and then also don't forget to value the person on the other side. You have no idea why they're upset. Maybe it has nothing to do with you. Maybe their home life is just blowing up. Maybe their husband or wife just decided to leave them. Or who knows what's going on in their life. Maybe they're having a health crisis and they're upset, and so they're taking it out at work. You don't know what's going on, but if you slow down enough, it can keep you in that place of leader. Now, an interesting situation, I've worked for many people in my life, and many times I get to be their leader. What I mean by that is, yes, they get to choose when I work. They get to choose, maybe when I was a food server, what tables I'm over. They get to determine those things, even what I'm paid. You know what they don't get to determine? Who I am as a person. I've had many managers come to me and ask for prayer, or many managers come and say, what would you do in this situation? People who lead different things, they're looking for people who have strong foundations, good answers, and a leader is something that a title could never give you. And so a lot of times people think a title creates that. No, it's the stronger those foundations are, the stronger you can be. Again, we are here at Lighthouse Coffee. I hope this encouraged you today. And remember, the thought I want you to be thinking about is what is guiding you today? What leads you? And if you find yourself upset a lot, you might find that other people get to guide you too much. So slow down, think about it. I'm very excited about our next time together. We're going to have a good friend of mine, Chaz, on. We're going to have a conversation, kind of open this up to some different things. We're going to talk about conflict resolution, maybe some ways to handle it, and get another perspective. So I hope you're doing well. We'll see you soon. Many blessings.